So I'm going to be working on making this into a lamp. I have procured the lamp shade. I don't actually need one with a harp and finial because I have a kit, and the kit allows this piece inside here in this lamp to be held in by the bulb. The kit that I'm going to be using is a bottle lamp kit, and inside there are 3 choices of rubber washers that I could put into the surface of my lamp once it's created to hold everything together. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to get my lamp created. Now you could build a sculpture, you can make this as interesting as you want it to be. I simply threw a few on the wheel. I cut out the base of this container. I cut out the base of this one. Probably a very important thing to remember is that you need to cut out a notch in the bottom. The reason you need that is this is where the cord is going to go through on the base. So I'm going to place this down so that it could sit against the table properly. Now one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be slipping scoring these together. And again, you can actually make your lamp out of any sculptural form, and as long as you leave a nice 1-inch center all the way down through the whole piece, you should be able to get the cord to run all the way to the bottom. So I made sure when I threw these that they would line up nicely. I am going to score up the surface here. And to do some heavy-duty attaching, we're going to need to make sure we have the right slip made. So I definitely made some slip. We're going to make sure that we also add a coil and we smooth as many of the creases as we can. And so what I'm going to do here is just fill in my score marks with this slip, some heavy-duty slip. I have to have score marks so the pieces combine, but I don't need to worry about the slip filling them in because it's going to keep any of the air out of my score marks when I smash them together. Okay, now I'm going to take and I'm going to place this on top. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a turn. I don't know if you could see that. Okay. Sure, it's a little messy right now, but that's because I'm not finished. Now on the inside, you can see that that crack is going to need, right inside here where you see my finger, that is going to need to be smoothed. So what I'll do is I'll take a tool, like a nice wood modeling tool. I'll get inside and I'll start to smooth that crack shut. And what I'm also going to do is place a nice coil inside there and a nice coil on the outside to strengthen it. In order to make that coil, I'm going to take the same type of clay, which in our class we're just going to use earthenware. And I just happen to have some stoneware laying around, so I've been using stoneware myself on this piece. But you're going to be using earthenware. And I'm going to begin by taking my fork and roughing up that surface where that coil is going to go with some score marks. Now you may think that your piece is holding really well, but right now it's barely holding on. That water has formed a type of vacuum, and if we don't hold this properly, the top and the bottom will fall away from each other. So you definitely don't want to hold this off the side of your table. Then again, I'm going to come back to my slip. I'm going to slip this up. The other thing that I can do is I could take a paintbrush and I can fill it in with slip there with a paintbrush. As long as I don't press too hard, I shouldn't ruin the score marks that I have. Okay, so either way works. And then I'm going to take the coil that I'm using and I'm going to score up the coil. I like to support it as I do it so that it stays put. Go the opposite direction here and a diagonal on my horizontal or vertical there. Put a little bit of slip on this. Then moving from one side to the other, I'm going to push this along. Okay. You'll notice I have a little excess. I'm not afraid to take some of it off. Okay. And you can see that that's really combining nicely. So I'll begin again. This little chunk came off. That's okay. I'll put it in my slip bag and I'll begin again. You can kind of see that I'm pushing that coil through, and as I do it, I make sure I push out any air as I travel along the side. On my next trip, I'm going to look to make sure that this seam looks even all the way around. And I'm not going to be afraid to pull some of that clay off, some of these chunks off with my finger. And it may not look amazing at first because I'm going to go back and smooth it out. So as I'm pulling, I'm getting this worked out. I'll come in with a damp sponge, get a little dampness on there, and I'm going to begin to smooth this out. Thanks for bearing with me as we do this. Sometimes I just even have to stop and go to the sink and wash my hands if my hands are really bad, because as I hold the piece I may ruin some of the smoothness of the surface just because my hands are dirty. Alright, so that's the first step. My next step will be to go on the inside. I could turn this upside down right now. I waited till my piece was leather hard to do this. On purpose so that the form would not change as I work. I'm going to come in and I'm going to begin to score around the seam line of my lamp here. I'm going to put some slip on there. And I'm going to really monitor this for the next couple days because the coil I'm adding is a little wetter than the actual leather hard lamp. And because of that, there is a chance that it may break away or crack. It's very hard to attach wet clay to a leather hard clay. And I'm almost done there. I'm pushing from one side to the other, making sure that I'm pushing any air out as I go. Hopefully you're able to see enough of that. Then I can pull the excess off and begin to put my hand in there and start smoothing it out. Now this is again pretty dry, otherwise I'd have one hand on the outside supporting while the hand on the inside was smoothing. Counter pressure is really important. Can't get the clay to do what you want if it collapses. So I usually like to have one hand support while I smear. Probably heard me say that already. And I think I got this basically where I want it to be, and now I'm going to clean up the inside. Some people are going to say, Mrs. J, why do we clean up the inside? Nobody's going to see it. Well, first of all, you want it to dry even so it doesn't crack. If there's big chunks in certain areas and not in others, it's not going to dry evenly. The other thing is, when we build these, if the lamp ever has problems and you want to go under and look at it and fix something that maybe you didn't do properly, you don't want people to see a bunch of junk laying in there. It's all about craftsmanship. And so having said that, I'll continue to refine this, and then I'm going to make the top piece. The top piece is going to be super important. The top piece has to fit one of these in it. And so what I'm going to do is make sure that the top piece can fit one of these while it's wet, so that as it dries, when this shrinks and it's fired, this will still fit, or I can move down a size. And see you on the next